What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel for some more Escape from Tarkov. In today's video, I'm talking about my journey to the Kappa container. I finally got my hands on it as of September 22nd, 2022, after just under 3 months since the wipe was released earlier in the summer. The highlights of this wipe, of course, was the introduction of some new weapons, the Benelli M3, which was used heavily in the early game for me. But since the early game, I haven't really been using it very much, but I have been picking up the AXMC, which is the new sniper rifle that was added to the game. You can get your hands on it by eliminating Sturman, looting his key, and turning it into Jaeger at least once. And it's actually kind of disappointing with my sniper missions this wipe because I didn't really have enough money to run this weapon efficiently, so I opted to use things like SV98s and the VPO. And I didn't even get a chance to use the SV98 chassis up until the last few weeks when I was doing my weekly missions to try to push the Kappa container. So more often than not, I just heavily relied on the VPO 215 suppressed with the 366 AP in the early game sniper missions. So nothing too exciting, but it definitely didn't break the bank. This was one of the most challenging Kappa runs that I've done to date, and it was actually reminiscent of doing a hardcore Kappa run because I averaged under 1 million rubles throughout the entire Kappa journey. There was only a few times where I actually had over 3 million rubles. One that I was actually doing when I had to turn in all my money for Psycho Sniper, so only to have that cash to immediately lose it. And then whenever I was looking for the Dan forklift key near the end of the Kappa grind, I was actually picking up a lot of money from just searching stashes, duffel bags, and jackets. This isn't really different from previous Kappa farms, but I think just because there was more money sinks, like the increased cost of insurance, armor repair, and the price of medication, that extra wiggle room of money that I was usually having, the surplus, was gone. So I didn't really have the capability of maintaining large amounts of money, especially whenever I want to build kits that are capable of defending against not just solos, but groups, which is super key. Having meds, backup meds, multiple stims, high-class body armor, weapons with suppressors, decent ammunition. Most kits that I would run would cost on average like 750k minimum. You die once or twice, and there goes all of your bank and all of your assets. My mentality was always to prioritize the main objective and then try to make a little bit of money as I was going through to complete that task. And if I'm going to be honest, this time it wasn't enough. There was a few times throughout the journey that I had to stop and actually spend a few hours to farm some rubles in the morning, and then only to spend it just shortly thereafter on the items that I needed for the hideout, or again, for example, Psycho Sniper. Some of my viewers were actually joking around and they gave me the title as the cheapest Kappa ever just because of how little resources I actually had during the entire grind. I thought that was pretty funny, but overall, it was extremely challenging. One of the most difficult runs I've ever done in Tarkov. That includes the hardcore runs. And it's one of the reasons why I didn't really feel the need to even do a challenge run, at least not yet. So I'm happy that it's actually finally over. Some of the standout weapons, the RD704, that weapon is so good. It's one of those guns that are so good that I kind of feel guilty using it because it's so good. That came in handy on various boss hunts, especially for killing Killa. That weapon really helped me in the end. Going after Rashala multiple times, just a breeze, PvP, running with BP. It's just such a good AK platform, arguably too good for what it is since it's kind of like a glorified AK-104. But either way, definitely in the top 3 weapon choices this wipe. The VSS, those 2 taps of SP6 and PAB9s, you guys have been seeing it constantly on my channel and during my live stream. That weapon is an absolute savage. It's completely slept on right now, simply due to the fact that people are used to only using it in full auto. If you leave it on semi-auto and you go for 2 clicks on the thorax, it's going to get the job done 90% of the time. It's only not going to work if they have like really high class body armor, like slicks and stuff. And you probably only need like 1 or 2 more bullets, which it's not a whole lot of extra effort. It's been just so reliable, immersive, fun, silent, and just one of my favorite guns. Probably my favorite gun this wipe, easily, hands down. I gotta give a shout out to the Benelli M3 and the VPO 215. These 2 weapons were definitely the workhorse and the budget weapons that I ran, especially whenever things were tough or I was trying to complete missions, especially the sniper missions, and then also some of the early shotgun missions. Super key, and they definitely allowed me to not break the bank. Some notable mentions, the SAG AK, although I didn't use it as much as I'd like to. It was actually a lot of fun. I used that weapon to kill Gluhar along the way, And personally, I would like to get my hands on it a little bit more. The 545 platforms, the AK-105s, AK-74s, I've been using them a lot more recently. Although they don't feel as powerful as they once were, they're super cheap, they don't break the bank, and they're great secondaries for bolt-action snipers, which is what I've been doing recently. Some of you guys probably also noticed that I wasn't running the SR25 or the C7M4 variants nearly as much this wipe, and 556 hasn't really been getting it done for me. Super inconsistent to the point where I kind of just stopped running it. M855A1 is good, but there's just too many times where it let me down and I landed like 11 hits on an enemy only for them to survive, which is obviously disappointing and not what you want to see. For the SR25, I just ended up using the VSS in most situations that I would typically use the SR, which is kind of weird because one is a high velocity DMR and the other one is a subsonic or low velocity DMR, but very different weapons. I don't know really what it was. I just usually end up using the SR25 more in the late wipe or around now after I get Kappa, so I wouldn't be surprised if you start seeing me use it more. But I think I've just gotten bored with running it all the time, and I needed a change. There's two moments that really stood out to me during this wipe. It was the Shooterborn in Heaven stuff because they made it more difficult, which means some of the locations that I was used to going to that I would rely on no longer worked. For example, Fortress to the drug lab on customs, you needed a different position. So going from the big red container and shooting over to RUAF was super interesting. And then also the idea of exploring around different maps and trying to find unique angles to hunt down PMCs with long-range weapons is something that I really like to do in Tarkov anyway. So getting that complete or running into that mission and starting to work on it is always a milestone moment. And that's why I always upload the highlights to my YouTube channel, because it's always one of my favorite things to do in Escape from Tarkov, especially whenever you get that mission done within the first like month or two when the hype is still there and there's lots of players running around. The second was hunting the goons. So that was something that I had to learn, and it was a brand new type of fight on various different maps with bosses that are extremely difficult, borderline broken in some cases. It required me to practice offline to learn the different locations, how they fight, how fast I'm gonna die, how to use grenades to push their mechanic, and what weapons would be the most efficient. And going through and hunting them down, applying the practice to the real raids, it was very fast. It was a matter of 3 days, 1 day of practice, 2 days of looking for them, and I got the quest complete with only spotting them in a live raid 3 times. It was like pretty awesome. Some of the other people got really unlucky with it and looked for weeks to kill the goon squad, or would only kill like Big Pipe and Knight looking for Bird Eye. So I not only got extremely lucky getting a awesome nade kill on Bird Eye, but I just used that preparation so I knew kind of what to expect and how to fight them. And I have made videos on that process here on YouTube as well. Now, the lowest point of the wipe for me was definitely Killa. There was, I made a summary of that as well, so you can go and watch it if you want some of the highlights. But yeah, hunting Killa this time was such a pain in my ass. They added Killa to various different locations on Interchange, so he doesn't always spawn in the middle of the store. That's not that big of a deal, right? Use BP, use the RD704, SR25, M61, SNBs, whatever, BS rounds and AK. Yeah, no problem, right? Like usually, most wipes, I kill Killa in like under 10 raids, non-factor, we're moving on. It took me over 3.5 weeks, I think nearly 4 weeks of starting, stopping, working on other missions, starting up again. I did the entire long line quest, which is 30 PMC kills inside the store, and I still didn't extract with the Maska. The first time that I killed Killa, I kill traded with him. It was a nightmare, quite literally. It was keeping me up at night. The morning before I killed Killa, it was like 3 in the fucking morning, and I was sitting there thinking about how I'm going to eliminate this boss. It was a disaster, but it also made it super rewarding whenever I got it done. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. And before you ask, hey, are you going to kill him 100 times again? I did that one time. It took me so long to get a single Maska out of a raid. It ain't worth it. It ain't happening. That tracksuit can stay in Ragman stores for the rest of his days. I don't really care. The only time that I would ever consider doing that 100 Killa kills in a row again is if they increased the reward, they made it permanent, so it doesn't wipe every single time that you do it, or they make it Kappa required. And if they make it Kappa required, I'm probably going to go fucking insane. So let's hope that that day doesn't come. PvP for me was really spotty. I think early in the wipe, I made some of the best PvP plays I've made in years, followed up by some of the worst plays I've made in a very long time. And I think that's due to the increased inertia. When they first added Lighthouse, they added some inertia. It wasn't so bad. This wipe, they amped it up. They made strength and endurance not as powerful, which is totally a good thing. And I feel like I finally have felt that, especially as a solo player, not having the ability to outflank and maneuver and be as quick as I'm used to in these fights. Like pinning somebody down with some suppression when they're behind a tree and doing an aggressive front right, front left push wasn't getting the job done for me this wipe and caused me to die often. Old habits die hard, and it's taken me a lot to reform that, which is why I've only have like a 58% survival rating down from 63. I want to contribute that mostly to the changes in the movement speed and the general like weight of your character just being heavier and having less stamina than normal. I've also noticed that a lot of my great plays were whenever I was wearing things like slicks and hex grids and CCPs and class 5 body armors. Those resources were not always available considering how light I was on my ruble stack. The less resources, the less supplies, mainly opting for class 4 body armor. So whenever players started running M61, I was dying a lot faster. Competent players running 7.62 BP. BP rounds are definitely the meta round in the game right now. They have been for some time, but especially this wipe, the amount of times just getting shot by that round and instantly killed, far too many. And if you don't have the proper body armor, you're pretty much going to die instantly. So that was an adjustment, but overall still super satisfying, but definitely not performing nearly as well as I would typically in previous wipes, or as compared to previous wipes. The Lighthouse expansion was definitely cool. Some of the new additions that they put in the industrial zone with the drug lab were cool. Some of the new missions that they added, like the operating room and the Lighthouse Island, is really awesome. It created some cool sniper dynamics and some scav gameplay, but it wasn't really enough. This wipe was definitely a bit of a letdown in terms of content delivery. Things like the Rise 12, the SR2, the Lightkeeper. This is supposed to be the 12-13 wipe. It's not 12-13 yet, and we're 3 months into the wipe. I really hope that they have a plan to release a content patch that doesn't have a wipe sometime before December, because it's probably going to be December when the next wipe hits, and we all know Streets of Tarkov is not going to be coming out in December. If it does, I'm going to be shocked, because there's so many things that need to happen before Streets gets released, and it was supposed to get released in December. So unless they just do some major 1.0 like rushed release, I think it's fair to say that we're going to be seeing some delays moving forward, which it is what it is. It's kind of what can you do, right? So I just really want to see that in-game trader. I want to see all the things that were, well, not promised. Maybe that might not be the right word. I want to see all the things we expected to see with this wipe added to the game sometime sooner than December. Hopefully that happens, but will it be enough? Will Lightkeeper, will the Rise 12, will the SR2, new pieces of equipment, will that be enough to bring people back into a game that hasn't wiped? Would it have been more wise to do a full content patch with a wipe and delayed it into later in the summer? Who knows? We also don't know more about the arena. The arena was supposed to be entering private testing sometime in the fall. Maybe that's already happened. I don't know, but it would be cool to hear more about what's happening there. So we're kind of just sitting here at the end of September, kind of scratching our heads, wondering what's going to be happening over the next few months with Tarkov. Will we even see Streets? Will we see Lightkeeper? What's going on? But as always, I'm eager to hear what you guys have to say in the comment section below. So let me know what this wipe experience has been like for you, the good and the bad. Be sure to subscribe here for some more Escape from Tarkov videos and more videos on my channel. I'm going to be starting to do more variety content on Twitch, so I might try to upload some of the best moments of that variety content here as well and experiment with that. We'll have to wait and see. But thanks again for all the support, guys. I really appreciate it. And also, there will be a new merch drop coming sometime in the first week of October. So I'll keep you guys informed on the community section here on YouTube whenever that happens. So until next time, we'll see you guys later, and have a good one.